All right, hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? So, yep, on a streak here. A couple days here. I've had some time. Won't be able to stream for probably a little while after that. But let's go ahead and keep working on this plane. Making some good progress in this plane. We got it in the air. That was a good step to make sure that's gonna work. It will. I was kind of thinking last night that I want to change his nose up a little bit. We'll play with it real quick. Changing this nose up will add some buoyancy. So I'm gonna play. Plus, I want to change the look of it a little bit. So I want to degoosify it a little bit. Want to kind of flatten the nose out a little bit. It's kind of hard because I'm already at 4s there. So let's see what I can do. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do it there. Let's play with it. If I don't like it, I can always just revert. So. Alright, so the dash is actually going to come up 1. I just deleted a bunch of dash. I gotta not do that until I get this run. I also want to get the panels. I want to make, I was talking about yesterday. You know, I've done it a little bit, but I want to do it more where I essentially have panels that I can move, say from, okay, so they can't go there. They have to go there. Alright, that's good to know. Alright, so it has to be there. Let's see if that's going to cause me problems. Probably is. Okay, yeah, so that means the seat's got to come back 1. Alright. Seat's also going to move over to the left. Like that, and then it has to go back 1. So I want to make some modular panels, kind of updated. I had some older ones. I want to update those so that I can essentially, you know, when I want to build something like this, especially I like to participate in the challenges a bunch, and Alistair's kind of taken over doing challenges. And I like to participate in those more, and like one of the things that got me in the last challenge was I really didn't have the time, the inclination to get in and make the dash and the workings. And so by having like a module of this is for, you know, multi-engine reciprocating aircraft, this is for, you know, single engine boats, this is for twin engine boats, this is for steam, XYZ, makes it so that you can easily grab your microcontrollers and then you have to build the shell and then you can more easily plumb it out, and it's not like reinventing the wheel every time. So, all right. All right, there we go there. All right. So I've got a plane that has pretty much a bone straight nose on it for a seaplane, and I really like it. And I'm thinking about doing the same here. So we'll play with that and see if I like it. Kind of already digging it. It looks a little bit more beefy. I like that about that. Yeah, I'm already digging the shape of that a little bit better. So let's start playing with this, see what I can come up with. And that would be a 2x here. Yeah, I'm already kind of digging this more. Yeah, I'm liking that. Kind of really almost emphasize the boat element of the flying boat. Yeah, I'm digging that. I like that better. And I'd like to move this step back and tie it in here, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I kind of like that look, but I like this new front look a lot better. I might make this tricycle gear. I don't know. I've been kind of wanting tricycle gear, but I don't know. I'm gonna do some drastic shit here. I'm gonna cut out the, not that drastic, but I'm gonna cut out the rockets. I'm gonna have to do it because of buoyancy reasons later, but I want to play with this some more and see to what extent I can not have to deal with that. It's a little bit stubby. I might make it longer. Play with that in a second here. It needs to spawn in this base. That's the main thing, so. Cat's main job in life is to be in the way. Alright, so that's pretty good there. I can cut that, move that back. So it's pretty drastic change. This is the type of thing in stormworks when you go to bed and then you wake up and you're like, you got 90 things you want to do. Really just can fundamentally make changes. That length is starting to appeal to me. I don't know. We'll see. See if the lengthening I find annoying or better. How's it going there, Variante? How are you? That looks a little bit long. Though the wing would have to be bigger. That's the only thing. Like the boat itself isn't bad lengthwise. It's a little long. This is actually kind of how they do it in real life. Is they put in plugs, and so they you know, they'll add sections fore and aft. They might have to redo the wing depending on how big they make it, but they put in plugs and especially a lot of airliners to make them bigger and smaller. Oh, they don't put in plugs to make them smaller. They put in plugs to make smaller airliners bigger. I think how the hell I'm gonna move wing segments. I kind of like the new length. Let's go ahead and spawn. I want to see how it sits. Okay. So I think if I cut it like this, will be all right. The problem is the further aft the props are, the more likely it is to tilt it forward. But I can play with a bunch of weight there. Actually, probably isn't too bad. Let's do this. Let's see if I can fly it, and then we'll screw with it from there. So if it will fly pretty reasonably, I then know what I need to work on. Otherwise, you know, just gonna do this. It's gonna be real ugly to get this to seal up for the moment, and then and go from there. All right, that's sealed. See what a flight looks like with this. I don't know why that tail, is it just weight? It's got to be just weight. Nope, nope, it's filled with, that's why. It's filled with fuel. That would do it. Filling the entire bird with fuel. Would add a lot of weight. Alright, there we go. Alright. What got broken? Should have fuel in there. Have fuel in there. Got infinite electricity on, so that should pop off. I wanted to get rid of these weights here. That's better for weight. Now why is it not starting? Question. Definitely have infinite electricity on, right? Yeah, okay. Oh, it disconnected all my electricity. Alright, that's what it was. Alright. That sucks. But it's got infinite electricity, so I don't get why that would do that. Did it disconnect everything? No. I've got infinite electricity on, so what the fuck? Did I merge the seat back? I did. The hell? Okay, this needs to go out. That got disconnected. Alright, that got disconnected. Bearing panel, monitor touch. Yeah, I like that size better. Wing's actually pretty proportional. Yeah, so I'm not worried about thickening the wing much, if at all. There we go, that flies great already. Okay, that's flying great already. Check speed. Doing 126 meters per second. Because I'm a kind and benevolent individual, we'll turn that volume down. So 128 times 1.94 is 248 knots. So very nice. That's very fast. Alright, we should go faster as I start to bring the props back. See where the top speed is? So about 132. Yeah, so we hit about 130, let's say 130. 130 times 1.94. So 252 knots, that's about perfect. Alright, and then we're going to keep bringing it back. And this is going to increase the prop pitch, and you see the speed goes down because we're becoming more efficient. We're taking a bigger bite out of the air. That's reducing the RPS by putting more load in the engine. And so, yes, we're going slower, but we're gaining a lot of fuel efficiency. See, and as you can hear, the RPS is way down. So we were like 1,000 something, now we're at 800. So it's much lower, much quieter, and much more fuel efficient. But yeah, I like the new width. That's going to make some of the stuff easier. So one of the reasons I did this too is the closer the tail is, we talked about this yesterday. Let's mute that up. We'll bring up paint and I'll show you again. So again, you know, like I get people always saying, "Oh, stormworks in real life," and you know, it's not realistic, and all this whininess. But it's like, yeah, that's fine. You can complain about it, or you can make it work. And the other thing too is it's not really all that far off. you know, yes, there are a bunch of things that are not the way they would be in real life, but you can take real life physics principles and apply them. So we talked yesterday about, let's bring up, it's not a circle, is it? It's still not a circle. So yesterday we talked about center of gravity, right? And if you take some CG line, let's put a center of gravity in here, right? So another principle with aircraft where people don't get is there's a reason why airplane tails are as long as they are. There's a reason why the wings are as long as they are. Is they have to work within the laws of physics, right? So here's your center of gravity, right? And we talked about yesterday that the longer the lever arm, right? Think of it like a wrench. The longer the wrench, the more force you're able to put on. So let's say this center of gravity was a nut, and you're going to put a wrench on the end of the nut. If you had a very narrow wrench, right, or a very short wrench, so that's how long your wrench is, right, you would have to put a very a huge amount of force down to turn this wrench, right? So you'd have to do that. Or, so let's say, I think it's proportional. So let's say that line is how much you would need if the wrench was this long, right? Let's say you make the wrench longer. So you add to the wrench, and now the wrench is this long, from here to here. All right. Let's say that's triple, right? So I don't know if it's directly proportional. I can't remember physics from that far ago. But let's say now you need about a third as much force to do the same amount of work. And so the longer the tail, in this case on the airplane, the smaller the elevators need to be. And so that was part of the issue we had yesterday, probably, why the new plane with a longer tail is easier to pitch. You see this a lot with people like, my airplane doesn't pitch, and you look and they put their elevators on the wing. And so, yes, you can do this in certain situations, but it can't be at the center of gravity. So they put their wing at the center of gravity, and they put their elevators at the center of gravity. Well, the problem then becomes is, I have my flaps out too, probably go fast now. The problem becomes that when you have your elevators at the center of gravity, the lever arm is very, very short, and it can't do much work. It needs an incredible amount of force, and so you need huge elevators. And by making the tail longer, you see how long the tail is now, those smaller elevators much more easily pitch the craft, and they don't have to do a ton of work because they have more leverage. And you can end up with smaller elevators in this case for pitch. Alright, let's check speed now. We're doing about, so 112 is cruise at full prop pitch. 112 times 1.94. So our cruise is 217 knots. So that's pretty good, 217 knot cruise. Alright, let's go back and I have to retest some of this because, so this is what you do in real life too. You would trim the airplane. So I do this constantly at work. I'm constantly pressing the trim when I'm hand flying. And you see I just trimmed up the pitch. For every pitch power or configuration change, you need to retrim. So we changed the power, right? We changed the prop pitch, which changed power. We need to change the trim setting. You know, if I pitch up for a climb, I need to retrim. All right? And so there, that's how quick it is. You see how quickly that is trimmed. So now we're trimmed back up. All right, so now we're going to start to try to check the top speed again. It's going to be a little bit faster now. So what we're doing here with the constant speed propeller, oh shit. So that is a problem. That's likely the prop pitch causing me problems, so I'll fix that. The other thing too is making the plane longer. Again, adding mass to the rear, right, by putting a longer tail on there, it's going to make it harder for when we thrust up to push the nose down. So that's another reason why we're doing that. All right, I'm digging this new size. All right, let's bang some doors in here. This is definitely going to help with performance, I would say. I really am kind of thinking I want tricycle. Let's save this. Let's see, CBS 20. Let's put the date. All right, good. All right, so let's, I think I'm going to make this tricycle. Let's at least play with that for now. So tricycle is, you know, main gear in the back and nose wheel in the front. That's tricycle gear. This was a tail dragger before, so. I wanted a tricycle originally, and then I kind of changed my, or I didn't change my mind. I kind of felt like it needed it for some of the balancing. So I think we should be able to get away with tricycle now. I have the space. All right, so now this is the other thing some people have issues with when they're building their where their gear goes. I'm gonna thicken the wing just a little bit too. Let's do that first, and then we'll talk about where the wing goes or where the gear goes. Could make the engine bigger too. Make some nacelle fuel tanks as well. Let's back that up to there, I'd say. Because originally, I made like 3 models yesterday, and this was actually the smallest of the 3 models, so I kind of was wanting something bigger, just to have a little bit more staying power. I can't tell if that's equidistant. I don't think it is now. It's one off. Let's see where it is versus this. It's right at the tip of that. So yeah, it's got to go right there. All right. So we should be able to make the engine quite a bit bigger now too, which I don't necessarily need, but there are some benefits with that. I hate those friggin' drag arrows. I really do. Alright, I think I can put a 1x2 there, and then that will allow me to just do that much on the tips. That should be... Probably there is good. And then we'll cut that in one. Alright, I think that's the new wing. That looks pretty good. And I didn't drag this one yet, did I? Let's go back 1. No, I think it had to be 2. There's gonna be this one spot there. Yep, that's it. Alright, that's the new wing. So I gotta see how far back I moved that. What was it? 2? Would have been 2. So just 2 back. Not all that drastic of a change. Alright, new pontoons are in. I'm digging it. Give me a little space for other things in here, which is good. So these are 20s, and I'm adding a 12 in there. So 32s now. It's quite sizable. But this sucker should scream now. Yeah, the speed's probably not gonna be the same because we've got the speed's probably gonna be the same because we get the prop govern, or we get the RPS governed, and the prop setup's the same, but the it will reduce the amount of work the engine has to do. What is that? That is fuel. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. We'll replumb that. You know, with these bigger tanks, I should actively be able to get rid of the, if I wanted the wing tanks. And what I think I'm going to do, actually, is... Alright, let's just move the pipe back, actually. I think that's what we'll do. Yeah. Alright, so those fuel tanks are back plumbed up. Trying to decide, I think I'm going to get rid of these. I may or may not get rid of these wing fuel tanks. I'm probably going to. I need to play with these, though. This stuff's kind of in the way at the moment. I gotta reimagine this. That's better. Starting to shape up nicely. Yeah, shaping up really nicely. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. Pretty good. I like that. And that will join better to the wing. Yeah, it goes right there. It joins pretty much at the flap, so I like that. All right, that was good. That fixes that issue. I'm still thinking I might do wing tanks. I haven't decided yet. We'll have to make a decision here at some point. Hello, I'm Austin. How's it going there, CG? Good to see you. Hello, Aaron. How are you? Good to see everybody. All right, good. So for those just joining, I made some nose changes. I made it longer. That's giving me a longer empennage, which is giving me more torque so that I can, so I have more torque. I can more easily control pitch. So that's all good stuff. Yeah, that gives us kind of a little bit of an armpit there and a little bit of strength there, so I like that. Make sure that's not hitting the flap. At the moment it is, so I'm going to have to cut out this section here. Just fine, and then I will just invert that. Yeah, just cut it out. I don't need it there. It's just it's bulking for too much. Bulking up too much. I'll see what I want to do in here. This is kind of a mess of an area here. We'll do the redo this join here. Yeah, trying to add some bulk on there, without making it too much of a pain in the ass. It's kind of being tough. It's not terrible. I kind of like that. That's actually not bad. All right, let's check up the chat. I'm doing well, doing well. I doubt I want to bulk this up anymore, but actually didn't look too bad. We'll see. Definitely make some bigger fuel tanks. Not a bad joint. I kind of like it. All right. I gotta worry about the top. What do I want to do with the top? So if I do this, the benefit of this, definitely don't want to do that. It's not too bad. I doubt this is what I'm gonna go with, but nope, definitely not. If I could go one up, I could put an overhead panel on this. That's one thought I'm having, but I gotta play with it. I'd love to get an overhead panel in here, but I don't see that happening really effectively. So like some sort of overhead panel really helps with space. Yeah, it's supposed to be gull wing, so it needs the gulls. It needs to have that angle, so. I don't hate that. I kind of want to cut this out a little bit, though, again. The wing is supposed to stick up and then arc down, so. And then if I do this, it takes up too much space, and then I can't put, I want to put a hatch up top. So let's do this. Because I want to put a hatch up top so you can climb out. And this will make space for that. So get some of that functionality in there that I want. There we go. So the gull wing goes up and then, you know, like that. So that's what I want on it. Did that cause the problems? See, I'm trying to decide if I want to cut this layer out too here to accentuate that the gull wing even more. And so look, see the problem is then I lose all ability to put in a hatch up top. So I think this is better for being able to put a hatch up top. Yeah, then that allows me to put a hatch in, so that's cool. All right, good. Another dickhead to kick on Twitch, huh? Hello, Chuck. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, it's Twitch. Every day on Twitch there's a shitload of bots. It's quite obnoxious. All right. So that allows me to put that in, and that looks pretty good. I'm content with the look of the gull wing on that. I gotta come back here, make sure this is all. That's fine. That's good. All right, good. So I'm digging that. Engines are considerably bigger now. I gotta check on exhaust. All right, this needs to change up here. What's that? Okay. What we'll do is this. Stop. Thank you. There we go. Stop. Thank you. All right, so that's finishing plumbing in the fuel. Alright, there's exhaust again. I might double them up, we'll see. Put opening cowlings back on these later. Alright, good. Yes, I can. Yep. Yeah, I saw I could turn off particles now. Thank you. Appreciate it, Chuck. Yeah, I just use them for decoration. I don't turn off the particles. Nothing. Oh shit, this is showing. That's fine. That's an easy fix to move that. Let's see. All right, that's sealed back up. All right, very nice. Trying to see if I can. Probably not. So I put center panels in there, so that's nice. I'd like to put a mooring hatch there, but I don't know how to get down there properly. Could put a walk-through here. That's kind of a cool idea. Yeah, I kind of like that idea, but we'll see. Got a lot of other stuff to do here. Let's go ahead and save this real quick. But yes, big changes on this. We'll see you later, Arian. Thanks for stopping by. All right, let's go over to the sea base, and I want to play with this in the water for a little bit. I need to work buoyancy, but I did add a lot of extra buoyancy by increasing the size of the nose, and I also made it bigger. So all that stuff's gonna. I didn't spawn it. I was like, where is it? I didn't spawn it. All right. It's got a hole in it somewhere. That's clear. This base, man. You gotta swim down because it's below the spawn zone. All right. Okay, it filled with fuel again. All right. Yeah, I don't know if I want to put in fuel in this wing or not. We'll figure that out later. I've got space for it. I probably will, but we'll do that for now. That should have been what it was. It was just full of fuel. All right, good. So it actually floats pretty well for in-game, and then we'll work on that a little bit. See if there's a prayer to get this out of the water the way it is. One thing I want to do is check the steering of the water rudder, because it has to be opposite. So I should be able to do it opposite of this because it's backwards. So should be solid on the left. That should be right. Let's look. That's upside down. I gotta fix that. All right. That should be right. All right. Should be correct. All right. Now that should be correct. We can flip this. All right, let's get out of the water. And I want to go back and I want to test out. I'm thinking of transferring this to tricycle gear, so I got to work on that. I didn't like the nose. I didn't like the tail dragger gear on there. All right. Alright, let's figure out how we want to do this nose gear. All right, that's hitting there. It's gonna be long, huh? Can the coaster go up one? It can. It's gonna hit when I go there. It's definitely gonna hit, but I gotta check it out. Definitely gonna hit, but I'll check it out. No, it doesn't hit. Okay, geometry works. All right. It works pretty well, actually. All right, good. I like that. All right, so what is that? That's a 1x4. Can't dick with that too much. All right, it's got to go up one. It's because the 1x4. Other way around might work. There we go. That seals it up nicely. All right, perfect. All right, good. All right, very nice, clean. That tags a little bit, I think. Yeah, it gets a little bit. It's not terrible though. All right, good. So the nose is working. Hello, Sergeant. How are you? We lose a lot of buoyancy doing this though. So I think what's better is this right here. Shit, that's gonna be a problem. Yeah, that's a problem there. We lose a lot of buoyancy doing that. Alright. Where's the bottom of this panel gonna go? I gotta fold the tire and the wheel and see where it's gonna end up in the inside the front. Because it's going up one from the okay, that's fine. That'll work. That actually works really well. Yeah, that works fine. All right, not a problem there. All right. This constant number block is consistently in the way. It's constantly in the way. All right. That's all sealed off. All right. Now, mains. I was thinking of doing folding them up into the wings, but I'm not sure. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I like the nose as well. I like the new nose. I have this kind of nose on another one of my seaplanes. I think it works out better. Thinking of something pretty elaborate here for gear, which is always a problem. Let's see. So you want your gear just behind your center of gravity. This is where a lot of people screw up too, is they put the gear way the hell back here. Um, this is where you're rotating. So if you put them way back here, you're having to try to lift all of this mass with the elevators. And you're not going to be able to do it. And so by putting it right behind your center of gravity, it's a pivot point. So you can put a feather on the tail and the tail will fall on its ground. Like literally the 737, they end up having to put a tail stand on all the time because it will hit the ground. And that's what you want. You want it right behind the center of gravity. That way this is your pivot point. So it pivots very freely and easily. If I do that, it's going to be right in the water line. That sucks. God damn it. I hate these. I hate the 3 parts because they're a pain. Because I can't paint this if they do that. So that's freaking annoying, man. If it goes where the water line is. So I'm trying to come up with some kind of elaborate, cool gear. So we'll see how this turns out. I wish you could also, just make sure they didn't change this before I say something. I wish they had an option you could shut off the electricity on there. That would be cool. 3x3 is the right wheels. I'm just gonna play with them. Kind of looking for some cool elaborate gear here, so we're gonna work on this. And like I was talking about yesterday, I would love it if they'd add some hardpoint pieces that were just that didn't have the weapon functionality, but were just for you know, doing other stuff like this with. All right, so I'm trying to do the geometry on this cool gear I'm trying to work on here. Ooh, I can almost do it. All right, let's see. These should probably slide one forward. That's going to be an issue, but so there's one option I was thinking is make it real tall and then have them pivot and then go into the nacelles here. I thought that would be kind of cool. Having a multi-fold stage would be kind of neat, but that's going to be a lot of work to get that to run right. Yeah, more composite parts would be good. Yeah, I had a couple ideas with gear here, so. Let's try something real quick. See if I like it. My God, if I could flip this the correct way, I would be in good shape. All right. So I think it would be cool if they could store them in the nacelles. I don't have enough space to drop them out of the nacelles. Can't get in the nose here. There we go. All right, let's see. All right, that is 9. That's 9. Ooh, that might actually be pretty damn close. It's pretty close there. That's pretty damn close. I wish we could get 360-degree robotic pivots. That would be real fantastic. That's 9. That's pretty freaking snazzy. That's pretty friggin' snazzy. I don't care who you are. That's pretty damn snazzy, that. That's pretty friggin' cool. Yeah, I like that. All right. We can work with this here. This we can work with. All right, I like that. All right, so that fits one above. All right, how that got hooked up to the wrong thing, I will never know. All right. Okay, I went the wrong direction. All right. Yeah, it's coming along nicely. I like that. That's pretty snazzy. I like it. What do people think of that? And then I could put an XML block in there. It's pretty snazzy. That's all up. All right, good. And there are my down locks. That one needs to be merged. That one just fell out. All right. See if I can dress this up a little bit. Especially seeing the plane got bigger now. I don't mind making these nacelles a little bit bigger. Especially they're going to count for the gear now, so that'll be fun. This gives me some more space to put stuff in here as well, so that's always a plus. I can flip the gear around as well now with the extra space to be able to accommodate the hub. So all sorts of cool stuff. Yeah, see, that doesn't look bad. There we go. I like that. We'll work on that in a second. Put that there for now. I can increase the size of the piston. Oh, it's within 1, so I should be able to get that to work. I can increase the size of the piston too. I've done that before. Makes it, but that's actually not too bad. I should be able to merge those. I've merged them before. Yeah, I've merged those pistons before. I don't know what the deal is. I could just leave it like that. It was fine. And then I should be able to turn the wheel around, but I don't want to turn the wheel around. Hitting something in there I'll fix, but all right. I'm hitting something. Likely that. Okay, it's that up in there. All right, that's pretty damn good. I got a little bit of something hitting there that I gotta fix, but it's pretty good. Eventually we'll get this. I can also put doors on there. I think doors will be better. But I want to play with this idea for a second. I think I'll put doors on them. I think that'll be even cooler. Yeah, doors will be cooler. And then I can kind of get away with the spindly little gear a little bit more if the doors are on there. Trying to think of the pontoon's gonna make the door difficult, but not impossible. Let's see. See what the hit, how bad that hits. Oh, it doesn't hit. That's awesome. Okay, that's really good. All right. And that can get a XML block there. I gotta put up, something's hitting. Oh, I didn't hook that door. That's why I said smashing into the door. That's good. That might even take fine because the we'll see, because the the thin end of these wedges has a very small hitbox, so it might actually take it. That's not gonna take where the pipe goes though. Okay. Something hitting in there, but I'll fix that later. There we go. That will tighten up nicely. It'll pretty much just be that pipe hanging out, which will look fine. All right, let's stick around with the interior here, see what's hitting. All right, it's got to be this block when it's hitting here. It's got to be there when it's hitting. So one of the things I'm going to do to get some extra fuel in here anyway is... not there. Okay, and what we'll do is go like this. It's going to cause problems. I can actually just do this probably. Yeah, that's fine there. I dig that, that's fine. See if that fixes the hitting problem there. Let's see what the collision is. Oh, Jesus Christ. Can we not? Can we not, please? Thanks. Alright, so it's not that. What is it hitting here? Something is hitting. Is it the engine? Is the wheel on the engine block? Because I see it hitting on the left side. It's not hitting the right. Let's drop these back down to quarters. I see what this is hitting. Could just be this rotation point on that. Alright, I'll be able to fly up in that wing and see what's hitting. Oh, I didn't fix that. That's hitting too. So I gotta check on that. Yeah, I'm hitting there, so definitely hitting there. That can go. That can go there. Definitely still hitting here. You can see it. It could be that right there. Could be the just hitting something, hitting the engine and the engine block and the engine manifold, which isn't a big deal. I'd flip the tire around if I would flip the tire around if it wouldn't be too narrow looking. I could move that out. Let's play with this. See, that looks too narrow. Nah, it's not terrible though. Let's play with that. I don't hate it as much as I thought I would. Yeah, I like it. Now I can see the tires. That's not binding up as much. That's much better. I don't like it being inboard as much. It puts a shorter stance on the boat, but that's fine. I can actually get rid of this door now. I don't need it. I can put exposed wheel, which actually looks cooler, I think. Yeah. Makes it a little simpler. Simple safe. Check with chat in a second, guys. I'm going to have to probably start getting ready here soon. It's been good streaming again. Having fun doing that. Okay. So after the tire, it needs to have... All right, so that is here, and then right... Yeah, that's what that would look like there. Do I have space for the piston? Might have space for the piston now. Yeah, perfect. That looks good. How did this not get all that treatment? What the fuck? And you know what this is going to be here? Oh, this is going to be gorgeous. Spotlight. That'll be my landing light right there. Oh, I never flipped it. I was wondering why the symmetry was ballsed up. I never flipped this side. Don't do that. Got it, Christ. Ugh. That's annoying. Fuck and hell. Playing the merge game all day is annoying. Sucker. You nasty sucker, I'm telling you. Oh, that's tight. That is very, very good. All right. So this needs to be worked on. That's very clean. All right, we like it. We like it very much so. To make this even cleaner. This could be nasty clean. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic. I like it. The piston doesn't look like too much there. It looks like it's something reasonable. And that's just perfect fit. Adds the overall aesthetic. I like it a lot. All right, very much. It's got a spotlight on it for landing lights. That's good. We like it. All right, I'm going to read some chat here for a little bit. Yeah, I was thinking of moving that out one, but I think it integrates really nicely now. So it's not having any hitting problems. All right, let's drop this on the ground. Make sure everything's good sitting on the ground. Put a lock on this too. That sits nicely. All right, so let me show you what I mean. Let's go back in the editor really quick. Okay, let's look at where the center of gravity is. All right, center of gravity is right here. So there. A little higher, but right there. And that's where the center of gravity is. You'll see a lot of new players, especially, or people who don't look up aircraft. They'll put the wheels way back here. That means that the elevator has to lift everything up, right? So let's go back in to Paint or MS. What is it? Paint.net. What did I just do? All right, so talking a basic seesaw, right? So let's go ahead and let's take this layer. I will do a rectangle. All right, so here we go. Talking a seesaw, right? So think of your plane as a seesaw. All right, so you have your let me get display cap back on. You have your pivot point right here, right? So this is your. If I could click the right thing, that would be fantastic. All right, here's your pivot point. And so where you place the actual bar of the seesaw, right, matters. All right, so here is your platform, right? So if you put the platform right in the center, right? Put the platform of the seesaw in the center. And then you take some sort of mass, right? And if you put this mass here, and you put this mass equidistant, you're balanced, right? So you're balanced. That's ideally where you want to be before you take off. Now what's going to happen is this is balanced, right? So adding even the tiniest, stop that please, thank you. Even adding the tiniest little bit of weight to the back or force to the back is going to make this side tip up, right? So real simple, right? That side will tip up, this side will tip down, right? So real simple. So you can add weight or you can add force. And so what we'll add is we'll add force by pushing down on the elevators. All right. And that's going to easily lift it up. Now, what you see a lot of people do wrongly when they're building their landing gear is they take and they put their gear back here, right? And by putting their gear back there, and that's now their pivot point. Now, because the lever arm here is longer, this greatly exceeds the mass of this. Even though there's more weight blocks over here or more force over here, this greatly exceeds it. And that's why they can't pitch their nose up. So by putting the rotation point, the wheel, right aft of the center of gravity, you could put a feather on the tail and it will tip the tail down. That means you don't need a huge elevator. So like with this right here, right, if I go stand on the tail, I'm 70 mass. All right, you can see I can make it pop up a little bit. All right, now if we go in here and we add some mass, and so what we're going to do is we're going to make this mass, so this is these are elevators, right? So this is causing the force to make you pitch. So the more mass you add or the more force you add, and we're going to simulate force with mass, right, to the back like this. Notice where the center of gravity is here, right? It's well aft of the center of pivot, which is this tire for rotation. All right, and then once you take off, it's no longer the tire, the rotation, it's the center of gravity. So now we can make a prediction. When this spawns in, right, what's going to happen? It's going to sit on its tail. And there it does, right? So in this case, if this is how our plane weighed, what we want to do? Move the gear backwards, right? Or rebalance our airplane. And that's what the elevators are doing. They're putting a force on the tail. The longer the lever arm, right, the more effect. So let's do some real quick and dirty stuff here, right? So what we'll do is we'll put a, let's do this a little bit scientific. Let's put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 right there, right? And we'll start adding weight on here. And we'll see if it tips. 1, 2, 3. All right. So you see, it's starting to pick the nose wheel off because the weight is so far aft, right? So there's 3. Nose not off the ground. Okay, good. All right, so we're at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6. So the first color is where we first put our 3 weight blocks. All right, let's add 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and then let's grab weight blocks. 1, 2, 3. And now look at the nose wheel. Nose wheel is firmly off the ground. So if you're having pitching problems, by making the tail longer, you're giving it a longer lever arm. Now you notice the difference between we had 6 and only adding 3 more blocks of length increased our lever arm. Those same 3 weight blocks are now lifting our nose off the ground. So this is important in when you design your airplane, is to get that balance right. And if you're struggling to have enough pitch authority, you could double up your control surfaces, or you could make the tail longer. And that's one of the reasons why when I started this stream today, I made the tail longer, is to get more pitch authority. Let me check my appointment here, and I'm going to probably finish up in probably the next 15, 30 minutes. Just want to double check the time. All right, when's my appointment? It is in hour and 25. Okay, so we can play for about probably 30 more minutes. All right, so you can see how that real practical example shows you how important that is. Now you can counteract that on the ground by pushing your gear backwards, but ideally you want that center of gravity in line with the center of lift. All right, let's go ahead and take a flight. So you see how easily, like even when it pops in, it lands on its tail, and you saw how little weight we need way back there in order to pitch it. That's called rotation. What you're doing is you're pulling back at a certain point. We have a VR speed, which is your rotation speed in airplanes. And at a certain speed, you want to pull back on the yoke. You have enough airflow over the wings to fly. You also have enough airflow over your tail to now use the airflow to use the elevators to then pitch your aircraft. You're changing the angle of attack of the wing. You're making the wing go up, increasing the angle of attack, increasing lift. And you're also pushing the thrust of the engines, so now they're more angled up to help you get in the air as well. And so that's why you don't want to rotate before that rotation speed, because the wing's not ready to fly, you don't have enough force in the elevator, and you still have the same force on the propellers. All right. What's going on here? Did I disconnect fuel? I disconnected something. All right, let's fix that. Fuel is in there. That's our burper on there. That's good there. That is going down. Beautiful. Okay, this would do it right here. So I don't have any fuel in my my tanks because that didn't get filled. All right, so also put bigger pontoons on here, which will give us more fuel in the pontoons. We'll fill some of this area maybe with fuel if I may or may not need it. Right there is where it would go. I got to fix it. But we do have fuel in the pontoons. So that's why we had engine problems there, likely. Unless I disconnect something else. All right, we're going to increase the flaps. A lot of people don't think flaps work in game. Of course they do. The steering doesn't work, though, if you don't hook it up. Of course flaps work, right? The control surfaces, right, they are giving you lift. And if you put them in the right spot of the wing, it's going to give your wing more lift, right? That's where your control comes from in game. All right, let's go to left, right. Let's make sure that's facing the right way. Getting that the right way on the first try is always a always a challenge. All right, that's perfect. All right, we're good. But it's like when people are like, oh, stormworks isn't realistic, so I can't make a plane fly. It's like, no, dude. Like, is it 100%, you know, exactly the same as it is IRL? No. Does it have to be? No. Can you still do the same things you would do in a real airplane to get your airplane to fly? Absolutely. And that's, you know, and some people use it as an excuse because they don't understand it. Instead of asking the question, hey, how do I make my plane, you know, fly? Like, okay, hands off right now. Nice and stable. We're going to quickly trim it up. All right, nice climb out. My hands are off. I'm just using the mouse. All right, so now think of the seesaw, right? If you balance your plane on the seesaw, right, which is what we did, so now the wheels aren't touching the ground. So no longer is the wheel our center of pivot. Our center of gravity is, so the pink block. So now I have a nice long tail and I have an elevator, and as I increase or decrease the lift on the tail, essentially we're pushing down on the tail, right? We're changing the lift vector on the tail. It's allowing me to pitch. Now, if I go down, I'm increasing the camber of the tail, of the horizontal tail plane, increasing lift, which will push the nose down. There you go. Right? Ailerons, right? I'm going to turn right, so the right aileron's going to go up, decrease in left. Left aileron's going to go down, increase in left. And we roll. Now, I talked about this in the Hull tutorial series. It's ideally in a plane, if you want good roll authority, right, what you want to do is you want to have your center of gravity. You want to have it right around where your control surfaces are. So If we wanted a really, really snappy rotation on this, one thing we could do is we could get that pink block in line with our wings, and that would give us a snappier rotation. But if you watch the whole tutorial series, right, what happened when I made the center of rotation right in the middle at the center of pivot? Well, the boat didn't care if it was upside down. It would stay at a 10-degree angle listing to the right, and it would only come back if you actively put a force on it, right? It wanted to stay in place. So because the center of gravity of this is below the wing, this adds to stability of the plane. Watch what the plane's doing. I haven't put my hands on it. Now, let me fix the nose real quick. I'm just going to trim just pitch. Watch what's happening with the roll. See how it's slowly rolling back to level? I'm just touching my pitch here. I'm just trimming the pitch. So notice how it's gently coming back to rolling level. It's doing that because the center of gravity, that pink block, is below the wings. Now, if I move that way down here to the bottom, just like in the boats, it would cause it to roll back to center more quickly. And that might be something you want your plane to do. But realize it's going to take more effort for you to turn, right? For me to start a turn, I might need bigger or more control surfaces to start a turn, because the plane naturally would want to level out if the center of gravity was very low. So generally, by having this center of gravity in a plane pretty close to the wings and as close to the center of thrust as you can get it, it will really increase your stability and your roll rate. So there's a trade-off, right? To make this plane ultra stable, we'd want the center of gravity, just like a boat, really low, below our center of pivot. But the problem then becomes it's harder to turn. So there are planes like this that we want to be like that. You know, airliners tend to be like that a little bit, cargo planes. You know, fighter jets, it's good to have the center of thrust in line with the center of gravity in line with the center of rotation, because you can roll 10 degrees to the right, the plane will stay 10 degrees to the right. You want to go upside down, the plane loves to be upside down, right? You know, and so certain planes, you want certain different characteristics. Same thing with, you know, boats, you pretty much always want up. Hello, Amanda. How are you? 21 months for Amanda. Appreciate you being a member for 21 months. Thank you. Yep. Glad you enjoyed it, Variante. I'll do some, so if I have more time, I'd love to get back into some tutorials. Tutorials take a lot of work, just because it's like, I tend to book for, it's going to take me twice as long so like if a video takes me an hour to record, it takes me 2 hours to make the video. Because I have to edit it, I have to, you know, all the editing takes a while to do. I have to make thumbnails and all that other stuff. I kind of plan on, you know, 2-to-1 ratio. And so making some of those tutorial videos, I got to go through, I got to make sure it's coherent, I got to make sure it's not, you know, too verbose or long. But, you know, I'd like to keep working on the hull tutorial series, and then going to airplanes would be kind of cool, because I can reference back the hull tutorial series like, this is what you wanted for a boat, but this is not what you want for a plane. You want more of a fighter jet, again, like I said, center of gravity in line with center of rotation, in line with center of thrust. You know, and it's different for different type of craft. All right, let's go ahead and land the sucker. Alright, so we get a lot of lift with these flaps. So I got full flapping now. That's a lot of lift. And so anytime we do a pitch power configuration change, we need to do trim. So we did both a power change as I reduced thrust, and we did a configuration change with flap. So I need to retrim, because my lift has changed. Now I have more lift, I have less thrust with the engine going down. See what speed we can get. I don't have my linears in here anymore, I took them out. I'm just going to do a quick and dirty landing here. I got to wrap this up. So you see a lot of people putting flywheels in their planes. You don't want to do that. And one of the reasons right here, what I'm doing landing, right? I am increasing and decreasing thrust constantly to maintain certain speed, right? When you go ahead and you put in a flywheel is great for like a truck because it's conserving the speed of the engine, so that as you let off the clutch and you start to put resistance on in the way of grip of your tires and weight of the vehicle, it fights stalling the engine, so the engine doesn't stall. With an airplane, when you come into land, especially with a propeller, you want low pitch, high RPM. That puts the very small amount of load on your engines. So they're not trying to do as much work. They can spin very fast, and they can change speed very quickly, right? Imagine if you have a tiny little weight in your hand, you can change speed real quickly. You can stop, you can go, you can stop, you can go, you can change direction really quickly. If you have a heavy weight in your hand and you try to stop it, it takes some time to stop it, and then it's really hard to change direction. And that's what a flywheel is doing for you. So it has its benefits and its applications. And with a plane, especially like I came into New York last week, it was very gusty. It was like gusting to 35, 40 knots, and it was a crosswind. And what the gusty does is you get wind coming at you, and then it stops. It might go away from you. It might change direction and go to the side of you. And so you're constantly having to give it power, take away power, give it power, take away power. And so if you had a big flywheel on there, what would be happening, or if you had a big blade pitch on there, what would be happening is the engine wouldn't respond as quickly. And you wouldn't be able to make the changes you need. And so, like, I see a lot of people, they instantly put their prop to full, and they take off with a full prop, putting a lot of load in their engine. And that's not ideally what you want to do. But I'm really liking this plane. Let's try to get a picture of it for the thumbnail. Yeah. Sorry, we'll blame Sergeant for it. Alright, but I'm really happy with the changes. I'll kind of review it for those who may have just joined, what we did on this plane this episode. Alright, that will be for probably the next screenshot. Get that. But change the nose. I changed it to the nose of a different aircraft I've had for a seaplane. I like this nose better. A little bit more beefy. I also made the plane longer, which gave me a longer empennage, which is the tail. We went over how that gives you a longer lever arm. It gives you more control authority. I changed it from a tail dragger to tricycle gear, which I much prefer. Some balancing stuff. Buoyancy is going to be something we have to play with next. I'm going to have to use the rocket motors to increase buoyancy on this. And so likely what I'll do is I want to get that. The center of gravity is not in a bad spot right now, but I might add some weight up high and then delete overall mass to keep it there. Or I might just take, because I can't get a rocket motor up top all the way, I have to see. Because in order to get this to float properly, I will need to delete overall mass. Like, it's cheaty, but I would love them just to give us a buoyancy block. But, you know, I don't know how the game code works. But I'm really happy with this. I want it to be a pusher. I want it to be counter-rotating. You know, this, I increased the size of the engines on here. When I put on the, you know, made it longer just to get it proportional. I like that. The new gear is really snazzy, and I like that. You know, it's not bad on the ground with them kind of canted in. You know, it's not too tippy, as you can see. I kind of like that when I make a turn too fast, it starts to rock and roll, but it's still good. As you can see, I'm not tipping over. I like that the locking mechanisms are now hidden in the wings. That's cool on this. I like the fuels in the pontoons. That's a feature I really like. Let's actually bring this back to Workbench. I want to look at what the fuel is. You know, it's kind of important to me that you have to, for example, have things like little carts that can fuel vehicles and stuff like that. And so I don't like having insane fuel efficiencies, or not. I like having good fuel efficiencies, but I like it so I have to refuel my planes. Let's put it that way in my craft, because then it gives you a reason to have some of those other tools. So yeah, like I'm not even gonna put wing fuel in the wings. Maybe, probably not, because I have 1,030 liters of fuel just in these pontoons, so that's plenty. Um, What I might do is put rocket motors in the pontoons, because the pontoons, I can put the rocket motor in line with where the center of gravity is and then lift from the bottom here, which will keep the center of gravity where it is. And by making them symmetrical, it will push up on the pontoons like it's buoyancy, and the pontoon itself will be buoyant. The mass of the plane will remain the same. I think that's probably what I'll do. So let's actually stick them in there right fast. I got a little bit of time to screw with this. Let's do that. All right, let's find the center of gravity. All right, so let's see. It's right on this plane here. Let's do this. It is one behind here. So it's right here. So what I'll do is I'll paint that inside of this pontoon so I know where it is. No, let's not do that. Let's do this. All right, let's take rocket motors and we'll put them here on either side. We'll tune them to 99 just so I can find them. And if you don't know what this is doing, essentially, this is fuel, right? Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. And so the copyright. And so the by putting the rocket motor fuel, by changing it to 99, it will make it really easy for me to find it in my document. And then what I'm able to do is, if I put a negative fuel, I'm essentially putting negative weight, and that's decreasing the weight, which helps me with floating. And then if I want to add weight, instead of adding 900 weight blocks, I can add a rocket fuel and make it 10,000 fuel, and that's going to add mass. So yeah, that's something we can do here. Essentially make custom weight blocks. All right, so I'm in the dock here. Let's go ahead and do Control F. I want to find fuel factor. There it is. Fuel factor right here is 0.99. So we're going to copy that. We'll put it in replace. And we want to make it a negative number. Let's say negative 500. We'll replace all. You'll see one of them went. We'll save it. One thing that's nice with this game is it's instant. So pretty much I have my save already. It's already in there. I can load it back up. I used to play like Flight Sim back in the day, and it wasn't instant to make your changes. You literally had to reboot the game every time you made a change. And so I can imagine it took forever. And so this is cool that you can quickly make an XML change and just reload. Shouldn't have been the autosave. If I save this, it shouldn't have been the autosave. Oh, you know what it was? It's fine. I loaded it up in the editor. That's why the autosave came first. It was loaded in the editor when I got in. So, all right. So notice that 500 mass. It's deleted 500 mass from the entire vehicle. All right. So the balance is the same. Notice it is sitting the same, a little bit nose up, as it was in the hangar. All right, that's actually floating pretty damn nice. The problem is I want to put some doors on, and that's a little bit problematic with it sitting this low. Let's try 1,000 or 750. Let's not go crazy. So let's go back in. All right, we're going to copy this one. We'll find next. All right, there it is. And then we'll replace it with 750. So we're taking off 250 aside more. All right, those are replaced. We're going to save it. We'll load it back up. Make sure you load it So it should sit higher in the water now. Why is it dropping? All right, so that's good. Now, you do have to think of some things. You're making your vehicle lighter, right? You have to now think about all the problems that could create when you make your vehicle lighter, right? It's gonna get blown by the wind more. It's gonna be more floaty. All these things, where you might not want it floaty. You got to think of that. So it's not just doing that's magic and it fixes all your ills. It's actively making something lighter. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So I really want to do, hey, how's it going, Aaron? I really want to do a seaplane tutorial series, as a lot of people struggle with those. Let's check the rudder. So we have a water rudder here, as you can see. Now, see how that's actually what's turning me. I'm not moving fast enough to have the air rudder really turn me. Now, in real life, you have twin engines, right? All you have to do is push up one, bring back the other one, and you turn really well as well with this. But I like this where it's at. I probably will go a little bit more mass off, but let's see. So some other things you need to add in seaplanes is, for example, I don't have it in this yet. There's a lot of drag with the water. And so what you can do is you put fins in the bottom of the hull of the seaplane. You put a fluid meter facing down. When the fluid meter touches the water, it's going to read a positive number, right? It says, hey, I'm in the water. There's water here. And then what you do is you hook it to fins. And so what I do is I hook it to a microcontroller. The microcontroller is dead simple. It has a clamp. When the water meter touches the water, it's going to go to like 1 millions, billions, or whatever. When it goes out of the water, it's going to be negative. Now, I don't want these fins changing the flight characteristics. I don't want it constantly giving me lift or excessive lift when I'm flying, right? So what I do is I clamp it from 0 to 1. When it's in the water, they go 1, which means they're going to try to get us up and out of the water. As soon as we get out of the water, right, and we unstick from the water, the meter is going to read 0, or a negative number, actually. And since we have it clamped at 0, the fins are going to go to the neutral position. So they're adding lift, but they're not adding excessive amounts of lift. And so it doesn't screw with our flight characteristics. So this is one of the things we're fixing for with that, is keeping it from turning into a submarine. But I have the power, so you see, we did that yesterday where we actively tilted the thrust a little bit. But I don't even have those fins in yet. What the fins will help us do is keep it from diving like that, and it will cut the drag, so instead of it being in the water, out of the water, it will skim on top of the water for a while naturally, and then it will finally take off when it has enough lift on the wings, enough speed. All right, I don't have linear speeds in here, so I can't do speed run. But that works pretty well for not having that system in there. Again, the more balanced your aircraft is, the more you have the center of thrust fixed, right? You don't need to do some of the other things as much, like fins. But let me show you the Cormorant, and then I gotta go. All right, here's the Cormorant. So the Cormorant is a plane that I used in one of the career series. Here are the fins. Real simple. And this allows it to get out of the water. It skims on the top. And if we look here, we've got our water, our fluid meter. So right here it shows the liquid level. It's going to go to foils. I'm trying to see where else it's going. All right, water sensor. So here, that's just our water sensor. So here's our foils. Real super simple. I'll show you how this works. All right, so the fluid meter, if it's greater than 0, right, it's going to switch it to 1, right? And then we also have the foils when you're going backwards. So say you put your prop in reverse or the wind blows you backwards, right? You don't want the foils to drag you underwater. So if you're going backwards, right, you want the foils to invert so that it keeps it sitting on top of the water. That's all you want. Kind of like a, when you do foils on a boat. All right, so here's the cormorant, and I'll show you how it behaves with those foils, if I can remember how to run the sucker. There's flaps. Prop, thrust. This has got to be flaps. Yeah, it's flaps. All right. I got the volume turned way down. I see why I'm not thrusting up. All right, so the foils are, watch what happens. See me skipping on top of the water? Look at the foil. You can see the foil. That foil is getting me to the top of the water column, and I can skip on top of the water naturally like I would in a real seaplane before I take off. It's not just instantly popping me out of the water. I don't have a constant speed propeller on here, so that's part of the issue. And so notice how it gives me a nice natural run on the water instead of just instantly popping out of the water. So again, all the stuff you need to engineer some of these things are there for you, right? The game doesn't do it for you, but you can easily do it. So at some point I might do a seaplane tutorial series. The problem is that's gonna be a long series because you'd have to do a ton of stuff. And then if you look here, see how the foils they're in the middle position? So they're adding a little bit of lift, but not a ton of lift because they're not tipping up. And then when we go back in the water, they'll tip back up to keep it from diving, because you see, like, sometimes when you land in the water, the drag is going to try to torpedo you again. So you want that to increase those foils again. I haven't flown this in a while, so for some reason my thrust isn't working. Okay. So I'll fix that, or not at some point. But yeah, so that's something you can do as well to give it more natural behavior. So instead of just instantly in the water, out of the water, or like it looks like a torpedo for a while, then it pops up out of the water, it skims on top. That reduces the drag. That's why, for example, you have hull designs on the seaplanes that are called planing hulls, where it tries to lift you up out of the water. But, yep. All right, guys, so thanks for watching. It's been fun stream. It's been fun streaming the last couple days. Appreciate you guys for coming by and joining. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next one.